Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and these are my 5 favorite Stephen King novels. Let's do it. Alright, quick caveat before we get into this thing. Stephen King has written like 50 some odd books, more than 50 books at this point, and I have not read 50 Stephen King books. Just so you're totally aware, this list is my 5 favorite books by Stephen King, but if your book isn't on it, it could be because I didn't read it, or it could be because it doesn't sit with me the same way it sat with you. So what I want to know, what are your 5 favorite books? If I missed one of your favorite books, or if I just grabbed it perfectly, whatever it is, what are your 5 favorite Stephen King novels? Leave me a comment letting me know what I missed or what you would have had on this list instead. But yeah, this is my opinion, so we're gonna just jump right into it. Number 5 on the list, one of my favorite books. It's an iconic book. It's It. This book is crazy long. It's over 1,000 pages, and that by itself is kind of incredible that it's a bestseller, that it's done as well as it has, but it's done so much more than just be a bestseller. This novel is iconic. Even if you've never read the book, or if you've never seen any of the movies, or heard any, you've heard references about this book is just classic. It's had a huge effect on our society in general. I think it's a really powerful book, and partially it's because it's not really about a clown, even though it is. It's about a clown, but really it's about bullying and small town horrors. This book, I think, has just had a crazy effect though. So many people have a fear of clowns that they don't even know that this actually probably dates back to It. And yeah, so the novel is epic in proportion. It spans over many years, really incredible book. And it's crazy the effect that it's had on our society. So it easily belongs in the number 5 spot on the list. Number 4 is Salem's Lot. And if you're not familiar with it, this is the second book that Stephen King wrote. Well, I guess the second one he published. He probably wrote other books before this. But a second book that got published by Stephen King. On the surface, this book is about vampires, and it's about a small town in Maine, which is where so many of Stephen King's novels take place, is in small Maine towns. But this is actually a book that's so much more than that. It's about people that you actually know. I think at this point, his characters were kind of stereotypical. And you could think of that as a negative thing, like, oh, that's just a stereotype of a person. But the reality is that stereotypes of people ring true because so many people actually just act in their stereotypes. And I think that that's why the characters actually feel very real in Salem's Lot. They don't feel like fake characters. And so it's full of characters you actually know who do things that you could actually see them doing, and horrors that are really horrifying and that you could actually fear. So I think this book is really powerful just in the fact that those characters feel so stereotypical and so real at the same time. The third book on my list gets here not because I love it, although I think I do actually like the book, but I didn't love this book. This book actually gets on the list because it haunted me for so long. It's Pet Sematary, and it's a book that on the surface is about a creepy cemetery where pets can be resurrected and come back from the dead. That's where it gets the name, but it turns out maybe some others could come back from the dead. It sounds like a dream come true for maybe a parent who's lost a child, but it's actually the stuff of nightmares. And this book is maybe, I think, one of Stephen King's most horrifying books. I think it left, at least when I was in high school and I read this thing, it just left a haunting, it stuck in my dreams, and it was what I was thinking about for just weeks after I read it. It's a really serious book, and Stephen King says it's actually one of his least favorite books. He says because it doesn't have any hope in it. And I agree with that. I think that's part of what makes it so haunting and so hard of a book to read, but it's a powerful book. It deserves a spot on the list as one of my favorites, number 3 on this list. The number 2 book on this list is The Stand. And like so many of other King's book, it's on the surface, it's about one thing, but it's actually about something else. In this case, it's about a super virus, which is surprisingly relevant in 2021. It's an end of the world story though, and it's not really about the virus. It's really about everything that comes after the virus. It's about the government and society has gone away, and what happens to people. What do people do inherently in themselves? What do they do if there's nothing controlling them? And so this is a book about a battle for good and evil. It's that classic fight, but I love this book because of the hope that's in it. It's actually about people who are fighting for what is right in the midst of what seems like a terribly hopeless, horrible situation. So I really appreciate The Stand. I think it's a book that belongs on your list. Now, this last book that goes on my list, the #1 slot, it may say more about me than it does about Stephen King, because this book is not the one that fits his stereotypical tropes. It's actually one that doesn't fit within his horror genres at all. It's The Gunslinger, which is part of the Dark Tower series. And this is a fantasy novel. It's about another world. It's futuristic and Old West, apocalyptic, sci-fi type universe. It's really artfully done. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, and it just pulls people in. It pulled me in to the world that he created. Now, the first 4 books in this series, I think, were written really, really well. The others tie everything up pretty well, but they're not written as well, I don't think. But I think that The Gunslinger in particular is just literally my favorite Stephen King novel. It's just amazingly done. He's written it really well. It's a great fantasy novel. It stands by itself as a fantasy novel, and I just really, really enjoyed it. I recommend it for anyone who hasn't read Stephen King, especially if you're more used to fantasy. This is a great place to start, and just start getting used to him as an artist and as an author. I just love Dark Tower, and I think it's beautifully done. It's also got so many things that are relatable to our world as well. Just like his other books, it's about a fantasy kind of situation on its surface, but really it's got things to teach us about ourselves. And that's part of why I like this book so much. Again, let me know what are your favorite books that Stephen King has written? Is it one of the books that are on my list? Are there 5 other books completely different than the ones I picked? Let me know where I got it wrong and what books I should read if I haven't already. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to like and subscribe. We put out lots of content like this surrounding books all the time. So if you enjoyed this, hope you guys just stick around for some more. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, stay safe out there.